A Broadway theater, June 1987. The Neil Simon Theater buzzes with anticipation, but the stage is eerily empty. The house lights dim and the audience shifts uncomfortably. Geraldine Page, the heart of Broadway, is missing her performance of Blithe Spirit, a first in her storied career. Backstage, actors exchange worried glances. No one knows why she's not there. In June 1987, Geraldine Page, a legend whose name lit up marquees, didn't take the stage. That night, her son, Anthony Torn, went to her Manhattan apartment. He found her lifeless, gone at 62 from a heart attack. But he found something else. Hidden letters, tucked in a drawer, their pages yellowed with secrets. These weren't just notes. They were evidence of a 30-year Hollywood conspiracy that tried to silence her, not for her politics, but for something far more personal. A secret she carried to her grave, one that explained why she nearly walked away from acting forever. Kirksville, Missouri, November 1924. A small, dusty town of fewer than 8,000 souls. A 5-year-old Geraldine Page sits at an old upright piano in her family's modest home. Her tiny fingers stumble over the keys, but her eyes are alive with determination. Outside, the wind whistles through the quiet streets, where the biggest landmark is a medical college, not a theater. Born on November 22, 1924, Geraldine grew up in Kirksville, far from the dazzle of Broadway or Hollywood. Her father, Dr. Leon Elwyn Page, was an osteopathic doctor, respected but always busy. Her mother, Edna Pearl Mays Page, kept their home warm, a haven of stability in a world shaken by the Great Depression. Money was tight, and neighbors struggled, but the Page family held firm. They taught Geraldine discipline, faith, and a quiet ambition that burned beneath her shy exterior. In that small town, she learned to dream big, even if the world felt small. Chicago, 1929. The Page family's car rattles into the bustling city. Young Geraldine, now 5, presses her face against the window, wide-eyed at the towering buildings and noisy streets. Englewood, their new neighborhood, is alive with working-class grit. Factories humming, jazz spilling from clubs, and theaters glowing with promise. At 5, Geraldine's world expanded. Chicago was a shock after Kirksville's calm. The Great Depression gripped the city, but its energy, art, music, theater, ignited something in her. She didn't yet dream of acting. Instead, she poured her heart into music, practicing piano until her fingers ached, and art, filling notebooks with watercolors and sketches. Her parents encouraged her, believing creativity would shape her future, whatever path she chose. Discipline came naturally. She'd practice for hours, losing herself in melodies or brushstrokes. Those early lessons in patience would later define her as an actress, though she didn't know it yet. Englewood Methodist Church, 1941. A 17-year-old Geraldine steps onto a small stage, her hands trembling as she delivers lines in a play called Excuse My Dust. It's a minor role in a forgettable production, but the audience's applause washes over her like a wave. Her heart races. For the first time, she feels truly alive. At 17, Geraldine discovered the stage. That small church performance changed everything. The thrill of telling a story, of feeling the audience's energy, grabbed her in a way painting or piano never had. She graduated from Englewood High School in 1942, a standout in academics and arts. Her teachers saw a spark, a girl destined for greatness beyond Chicago's borders. World War II raged, and life was uncertain, but Geraldine clung to a new dream. Broadway, summer stock theaters, Midwest, 1945. Geraldine, now in her early 20s, rushes between rehearsals in crumbling venues. The air is thick with summer heat, the stage is creaky. She plays 3 roles in a single week, memorizing lines in stolen moments. Between shows, she works odd jobs, checking hats at smoky clubs, ushering theater-goers, folding clothes in department stores, even modeling lingerie, a job that raised eyebrows in the 1940s. Her hands grow rough from factory work, but her spirit stays fierce. The road to stardom was brutal. Summer stock was thankless. Long hours, little pay, and theaters that were falling apart. But Geraldine's talent shone through. Chicago critics began to notice her, even if her name was buried in playbills. To survive, she took any job she could. Checking hats, ushering, modeling. She did it all, each job a reminder of the struggle. Those years of hardship gave her a deep well of emotion, one she'd later pour into her roles. Every rejection, every aching shift, made her stronger. New York City, 1950. Geraldine, 26, steps off a bus with a worn suitcase and a stack of rejection letters. The city is a beast, crowded, cold, and unforgiving. She shares a tiny apartment with other hopeful actors, their dreams as big as hers, their wallets just as empty. She faces audition after audition, hearing no more times than she can count. But she keeps every rejection letter, pinning them to her wall like badges of resilience. New York tested her like never before. The competition was fierce, the city relentless. But Geraldine believed in herself, even when no one else did. She studied with two of the greatest acting teachers of her time, Uta Hagen, who taught her to find emotional truth, and Lee Strasberg, who showed her how to dig into her soul for every role. Their lessons shaped her, turning raw talent into something extraordinary. Circle in the Square Theater, Greenwich Village, 1952. Geraldine, now 28, stands center stage as Alma Winemiller in Tennessee Williams's Summer and Smoke. Her performance is raw, vulnerable, and electric. The audience is silent, then erupts in applause. Critics scribble furiously in their notebooks. In 1952, Geraldine became a sensation. Summer and Smoke had flopped on Broadway 4 years earlier, but her performance transformed it. She didn't just play Alma, she became her, every gesture dripping with truth. The play ran for 356 performances, a triumph for off-Broadway. Geraldine won the first-ever New York Drama Critics Award for a non-Broadway role, a historic moment that put off-Broadway on the map as a serious art form. Her name was no longer a secret. Hollywood, 1953. Geraldine, radiant and hopeful, films Hondo alongside John Wayne. Her performance as a frontierswoman earns whispers of an Oscar nomination. She smiles on set, unaware of the storm brewing. In a shadowy studio office, executives glance at a list with her name crossed out. Whispers of blacklist float through the room. Hollywood opened its doors, and Geraldine's Hondo role earned her an Oscar nomination at 29. Stardom seemed certain, but then silence. She was blacklisted, not for anything she said or did, but for studying with Uta Hagen, whose leftist views made her a target. The House Un-American Activities Committee cast a long shadow, and Hollywood's fear was ruthless. No accusations, no trial, just her name erased from casting lists. For 8 years, from 1953 to 1961, her prime years, she was shut out. A cramped New York apartment, 1955. Geraldine sits alone, staring at a rejection letter from a film studio. Her face is a mix of anger and heartbreak. She crumples the paper but doesn't cry. Instead, she grabs a script and starts memorizing lines for her next Broadway role. The blacklist crushed her film dreams. While actresses like Joanne Woodward and Kim Stanley built legacies, Geraldine was invisible. She later said she felt like a ghost in Hollywood. The ban was unspoken, unchallengeable. It wasn't just about lost roles, it stole her sense of worth, yet she refused to break. Broadway became her refuge, her battlefield. Broadway theater, 1954. Geraldine commands the stage in The Immoralist. Her performance is fierce, raw, and unforgettable. The audience leaps to their feet. She takes a bow, her face glowing with purpose. On Broadway, Geraldine was unstoppable. From The Immoralist in 1954 to The Rainmaker in 1955, she poured her pain into her roles. Each performance was a defiance of Hollywood's rejection. Critics raved, and audiences couldn't look away. In 1959, she took on Princess Cosmonopolis in Tennessee Williams' Sweet Bird of Youth at the Martin Beck Theater. Martin Beck Theater, 1959. Geraldine, as Princess Cosmonopolis, stands opposite Paul Newman. Their chemistry is electric, the stage alive with tension. She channels silent film star Norma Talmadge, a once glorious actress whose career faded with the arrival of sound. Geraldine's portrayal is heartbreaking. Every line, every glance, a window into a fading star's soul. The audience is spellbound. Sweet Bird of Youth was a sensation, running 375 performances. Geraldine's performance earned her first Tony nomination. She didn't just act, she bared her soul, drawing on Norma Talmadge's vulnerability to make the princess real. Tennessee Williams called her the most disciplined actress he'd ever worked with, his muse for his most complex characters. Their partnership defined American theater, from Summer and Smoke in 1952 to Sweet Bird in 1959. She brought his wounded, desiring women to life with unmatched depth. Pinal, Arizona, September 1963. Geraldine, 38, stands in a simple dress, marrying actor Rip Torn in a quiet ceremony. They laugh, their hands intertwined, their love as fiery as their stage chemistry. The desert sun sets behind them, casting a warm glow. Geraldine's personal life was as dramatic as her roles. Her first marriage to violinist Alexander Schneider ended in divorce after 3 years. Then came Rip Torn, 6 years her junior, her co-star in Sweet Bird of Youth. Their romance began on stage in 1959, their chemistry undeniable. They married in 1963, far from New York's prying eyes. Together, they founded the Stock Theater Repertory Company near Lake Zurich, outside Chicago, a haven for bold experimental theater. Stock Theater Repertory Company, 1960s. Geraldine directs a young actor on a small stage, her voice gentle but firm. Rip Torn works nearby, organizing props. The theater is modest, but their passion fills the space. Young actors watch Geraldine with awe as she rehearses a scene. The Stock Theater was their dream, a place where actors could take risks and grow. Geraldine poured her heart and money into it, directing, acting, and mentoring. It ran for 4 seasons, giving young talents a chance to shine. But her marriage to Rip wasn't easy. In 1976, he began an affair with Amy Wright, a younger actress. The theater world buzzed with gossip. Geraldine, fiercely proud, refused to let go. "We're staying married," she told a reporter, her voice steady. "What's the big fuss?" Broadway Theater, 1977. Geraldine and Amy Wright performed together in The Stronger, a play about 2 women in a silent battle. Rip Torn directs, his face tense. The air crackles with unspoken jealousy. But Geraldine's performance is flawless, her professionalism unshaken. The tension was real. Geraldine and Amy, both jealous for different reasons, played out their drama on stage. Geraldine did it for Rip, hiding her pain behind her craft. Their marriage held, but the cracks were deep. They had 3 children, including Angelica Page, who followed her mother into acting. Their New York townhouse had a doorbell reading "Torn Page," a playful nod to their fiery bond. Oscars ceremony, March 1986. The Dorothy Chandler Pavilion glows with Hollywood's elite. F. Murray. Abraham stands at the podium, holding an envelope. The crowd leans forward, Breathless, F. Murray, Abraham, Geraldine Page, the greatest actress in the English language. The audience erupts in a standing ovation. Geraldine, 61, walks to the stage, her hands trembling as she clutches her Oscar for The Trip to Bountiful. Her eyes shine with tears, her smile radiant but fragile. Geraldine, tearful. If you don't tell anybody, I thought I should have won every time. I'm my biggest fan. Thank you. To the Mirror Repertory Company, to Horton Foote, to everyone who believed in me, this means everything. The crowd stands again, clapping so loudly the orchestra is drowned out. Geraldine holds the statue tight, her voice breaking as she speaks from the heart. After 7 Oscar nominations without a win, Geraldine was Hollywood's biggest loser. The press mocked her, cameras lingered on her losses. But in 1986, at 61, she won for The Trip to Bountiful. Playing Carrie Watts, an elderly woman yearning for her childhood home, she wove her own struggles into the role. Loss, resilience, hope. F. Murray. Abraham's words and deep bow made history. The double standing ovation wasn't just for her performance, it was for her life's work. She was finally seen. Neil Simon Theatre, March 1987. Geraldine, as Madame Arcati in Blithe Spirit, dances across the stage, her eccentric charm stealing every scene. Richard Chamberlain and Blythe Danner share the spotlight, but it's Geraldine the audience can't stop watching. Her laughter fills the theater, her energy infectious. In 1987, Geraldine was at her peak. Her role in Blithe Spirit earned her 8th Tony nomination, just a year after her Oscar triumph. Night after night, she brought joy and magic to the stage. No one knew she was battling kidney disease and high blood pressure, hiding her pain behind her performance. Her dedication was unbreakable. June 13, 1987. The Neil Simon Theatre prepares for another show. Backstage, the cast waits for Geraldine. The stage manager checks his watch, worried. In her Manhattan apartment, Anthony Torn knocks on the door. No answer. He enters and finds her, still and silent, gone at 62. A stack of letters sits in an open drawer, their secrets spilling out. On June 13, 1987, Geraldine didn't show up. Her son found her, taken by a heart attack. Among her things were those letters, revealing the blacklist's true cost. Not political, but personal. Her loyalty to friends like Uta Hagen had branded her a risk. She'd carried that wound for 30 years, her voice shaking when she finally spoke of it. She'd nearly quit acting, but her love for the stage kept her going. Neil Simon Theatre, days later. A memorial fills the stage with flowers. Actors, friends, and fans gather, their faces heavy with grief. A spotlight shines on an empty chair where Geraldine once sat. A single rose rests on it. Geraldine Page was more than an actress. She was a warrior who fought Hollywood's cruelty, a dreamer who turned pain into art, a legend whose light still shines. She hid her illness, giving everything to her final performances. Those letters told of a woman who refused to be broken. Her legacy lives in every stage she graced, every heart she touched. In memory of Geraldine Page, 1924 to 1987. Her spirit endures.